Hey everybody, this is Josh
And Carolyn.
with Homesteading Family, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Pantry Chat.
Yeah.
This week we're going to be talking about how to build homesteading knowledge and skills, a question that a lot of you have asked.
Yeah, it was actually number 2 of the top 5 challenges that you guys said that you had. But hey, before we get into that, how are you doing this week?
Oh, I'm good. I'm a little tired. We haven't been sleeping great, huh?
No, we haven't. We've got 9 kids and a bunch of animals, and they're occasionally these weeks where just sleep doesn't, I don't know, it's just kind of like it doesn't work.
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
And it's not always the kids. In fact, it's rarely the kids. Last night it was the dogs.
Yeah. Something going on, animals moving around, something happening. So we might be feeling a little punchy.
We're holding on to our coffee cups tightly today.
Got our coffee. Go grab yours if you want. And so what are you up to this week since we got together last?
This week I have really been focusing on planning my kitchen herb garden. So that's going to have my culinary herbs in it, some salad greens, some quick grab kitchen items, and then my medicinal herbs also, along with a whole bunch of beautiful flowers for cut flowers and for pollinators. So I have ordered quite a few of my seeds, and I've gotten a lot of my seed starting equipment in. And I'm getting excited.
And you're starting a lot of these. These are perennials. These are long-term perennials, and you're starting a lot of them from seeds, which is going to be a challenge in some ways.
Some of them are really more challenging to start. They're harder to start than just your average garden annual, and so I'm going to give it a good go to see if I can do a lot of my own, because I want a pretty good quantity of everything.
Right.
And that gets expensive if you're going to go and buy all those starts every time. So.
Well, I was going to ask, because I'm assuming that that's the primary reason you're going with seeds. We've bought a lot of starts in the past for perennials.
Yes, but I also have really gotten specific about the varieties that I want. And you just can't be sure that you're going to get the varieties that you want when you go to the nursery and just pick up seedlings. So.
And you've got it. This is an herb garden, perennials, permanents. This is not like an annual garden where you can experiment for a year.
Yeah.
And the variety didn't do so well, or I didn't like the flavor. This is our final property, and hopefully, and you're building an herb garden, and so you want the varieties that are going to do best right here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, get that dialed in. So what about you? What have you been working on?
Garden planning really is the
same.
biggest topic right now. I'm mapping it out on a big 24 by 36 and planning what we're going to do and kind of drafting and getting ready to get into. We've got our list of what we want to grow this year as far as potatoes, corn, this and that, and we've got to get a little more specific in what varieties this year. Some of our old ones that we like, and anything trying new. So just a lot of garden planning, and just waiting for the snow to melt.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready. There's 8 inches at least on the garden, so we got a little ways. But
good.
Yeah. So
you want to jump
get
right
into
in?
it? Yeah.
Let's
okay. How to build homesteading skills and knowledge. This is obviously a huge topic.
It really is, yeah.
And we're going to try to just cover some bullet points of what we've learned over the years, and where we've maybe wasted time and where we can best apply our time.
Right? Exactly.
So you want to kick it off with point number 1?
Okay, number 1, and this is a big one, and it's why it's number 1 is you can't do everything at the same time. And this is...
Wait. Well, we've tried to. What do you mean?
Well, you can try to do everything at the same time, but it's probably not going to go well, and you're going to end up with a lot of things done poorly instead of actually learning something all the way through. And this is something we have seen over and over again with people who just so desperately want to get back to more of a self-reliant lifestyle that they just jump in with both feet, and they start their first garden, they get their chickens, they start canning things, they're going to learn it all.
Do it all
right
in the first year.
In the first year.
Yeah.
And we've seen people get milk animals in their first year on a piece of property. And, it sure enough, 2-3 years in, and they are burnt out, they're done, they're ready to go back to the city and go back to the grocery store because it
seems undoable. It does. And it is. It can be undoable to do too much at once.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because the learning curve is steep on a lot of these skills, because let's face it, we're learning huge skills, not just a recipe or a this or that. You're actually having to learn the skills that are behind it. And that's got a pretty good learning curve.
Well, it's a huge learning curve. You've got to assimilate knowledge. You've got to gather knowledge. from a variety of sources,
Right.
and then you've got to start applying it.
Yeah.
And applying it to your situation, and that takes time.
It does.
So stick to 1 or 2 major skills a year.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2 at most, I would really say.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you're thinking about what skills to start, I think it's always valuable to think backwards, right? Mm-hmm. Instead, it's so natural to say, well, I want to grow my own food and preserve it. So I'm going to start growing the food, and then I'm going to learn how to preserve it, and I'm going to learn how to cook it in more traditional means, and I'm going to do all these skills. But really, if you start growing your own food, but you don't have the preserving skills all the way already down, you're going to end up wasting a lot of time, money, and food.
Right. What do you do at harvest time when there's
Yeah.
more harvest than you can eat? You're working just to get it in,
Right.
let alone how to put it up,
Right.
and consume it. And so,
Yeah,
you know,
so starting backwards on that process, starting with, you know, where you are right now, and just remove yourself 1 step from where you are and learn that skill. Yeah. So first start bringing your food in from the grocery store and preserving it that way, or starting to cook, you know, more healthy food, or, you know, starting with those more simple skills first.
Yeah. Simple and doable.
Right.
Make it doable. And, you know, when we get going, and we're still this way, you get excited about a project and we're passionate, I can do it all. Right? And you guys feel that way too. You get excited about something, but we got to put that passion into a more narrow focus. I think that's part of the key to success.
Yeah.
And you build over time, and it accelerates. You get better over time as you start building skills and you get one thing down. And yeah, you're still improving at that, but you can pick up another thing, another area, and start where you're at. You know, just start where you're at. So the skills that you choose, make them skills that can fit into the lifestyle you're in now. You know, even if you're wanting to get some more eventually, work with what you have.
Yeah. I think that's a huge key. We don't actually have that as number 2 here, but I think that is giant. Start right where you are. Don't wait until, you know, one day I'm going to have 10 acres of property and I can have a garden, or one day I'm going to do this. You can start with what you have right now, even if it means better grocery shopping. Honestly, you know, right where you are right now.
Yep.
Make that skill and learn that, dial that in, hone that skill right there.
Yeah, we got an email today from somebody. I wish I'd have written their name down and give you a shout out, but they were telling us how they're on a 5-year plan. They're planning to get to the homestead in 5 years, and they were asking some specific questions about skills, but they're building skills now. I'd love to see that.
Perfect.
That's the recipe for success. Figuring out everything you can now, and then getting ready to make that leap forward.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
exactly.
so we better move
on.
Okay, so bullet point number 2, find successful mentors.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's hard. And that key word there is successful, because there's a lot of people out there who will tell you how to do all sorts of things, but they've never done it themselves. They've watched a couple of good YouTube videos on it.
Right.
And they'll give you great advice, but they don't actually know what they're doing. So make sure you're looking for a successful mentor, right?
Absolutely. And to back up just a little bit, we've got, there's 3 kinds of mentors really primarily today, which is face-to-face, right? Working with somebody, a neighbor, a farmer, on-site courses, okay? And you've got obviously online here, resources like ourselves and others, and you've got books.
Yes.
And I mean, those are really the 3 core ways to build knowledge and some skills. I mean, the skills really is going to come to your application, but those are really the 3 core ways.
Right.
And nothing replaces being with another human being, getting it done. And, you know, some of you might have a farmer nearby. There's classes everywhere. There's all kinds of people doing on-site courses and different ways that you can go get involved. And we can only spend so much time doing that, so that's probably not going to be your top source, but that's a great source anytime you can.
Well, and that will really push you ahead in your skill building much faster than any of the other ways, because you're going to have somebody to ask questions to and get responses, get replies, and be able to problem solve with somebody, and that will just move you ahead much more quickly.
Well, and you're on site, so you're seeing problems getting solved or even created sometimes. That's all part of the learning experience.
Right,
but you're on site, so you're
Yeah.
seeing things happen. Next is books, and we're kind of in an age where everybody's going to YouTube, coming to the video to learn online, and that's great, but nothing replaces books.
Yeah.
And you've got to be building a library of books. It's great that we can engage like this. It's great for us that we can do this from our homestead and talk to you guys, and that you can learn. We're learning online, but you don't always know you're going to have this.
Right.
And there's nothing like having good resources and good knowledge in your library. So those books are super, super important.
Yeah. Well, just even in a small example, when we first moved to this new homestead, we went for a week and a half, 2 weeks with no internet. And I'll tell you, that is eye-opening.
And all our books were backed up.
And all of our
and we're
books
always
are in boxes.
referencing things and, looking, planting
Right.
the garden, herbs, we're always referencing.
We didn't have any of those unpacked,
Right.
and we didn't have the internet. And all of a sudden, I found myself doing all these projects that I've thought I wanted to do for years and never got to because I had all this time. But at the same time, I couldn't just jump on and Google something or look it up on YouTube real fast. And it's amazing how dependent you become on that.
It is, yeah.
So having those books on the shelf is really useful in case you find yourself without electricity, without internet, whatever it is.
So build a library, regardless of what knowledge you're getting from us or from others online. Build a library of books in the subjects that you're trying to learn.
Absolutely.
Invaluable. And then, of course, last is, mentors online. People that are sharing knowledge, whether it's free video like this or, online courses, I guess that's pretty much, or blogs, reading. But, that's obviously what a lot of us are going to a lot of the time.
Right.
And that kind of gets back to what you were talking about when we started out, in just who are you going to. That's where the information can get dubious sometimes, or not always trustworthy.
Incomplete, confusing,
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to put it all out here in this format and share all the details all the way along that you need. Got a phone ringing in
Phone
the
call
back,
in the
so
back,
we're
somebody will get it.
we're just going to talk through it. It'll go away in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
so, finding somebody that you can see they're actually living the lifestyle and doing it. And I gotta say, that's hard. There are not many people out there who are living a homesteading lifestyle and teaching it online, because those are actually two totally complete different skill sets. Business skills and then homesteading skills. And they're both really busy lives. So, keep an eye on their Instagram account and see if you see these actual projects going on in the background, or if it's just something they thought they'd try out of a book once and show you how to do it at the same time.
Yeah. And, some of our favorites that are solid, that we know have been living it for a while. Doug and Stacy, Off Grid with Doug and Stacy.
Right, their YouTube channel.
Yeah,
right.
their YouTube channel. They're the real deal. They are doing it. They've got a lot of valuable knowledge.
Right. Yeah, Melissa K. Norris, she's a personal friend of mine, but also she's been doing this for years, and she's just starting up a YouTube channel and has podcasts, all sorts of great stuff, and she is living it. She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. And one more, Justin Rhodes. Great guy, great family, and they're doing it. They've been living it for years, and the stuff they're teaching is the stuff that they've applied, that they've practiced, and they've done. And there's more. That's a couple of the folks that we know that we really enjoy watching, and that we know they're teaching skills that they've lived. Yeah. And I'm sure there's lots of other great folks out there, but just get into it a little bit and make sure that you're getting a feel that who you're picking that knowledge from is giving you quality knowledge because they've lived it and they've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's see here. Next point kind of ties into this. Don't be afraid to pay for a good education, for knowledge. There's a lot of free stuff out there. Obviously, we're putting out a lot of free content. Lots of folks are, but sometimes you need to go deeper.
Yeah, and sometimes you get what you pay for too.
Yeah.
Not with our stuff, of course. Our free stuff is great, but
I thought you were saying it the other way around.
No, that wouldn't be good. So, but don't be afraid to pay for a class that gets you to where you're trying to go faster. Yep. And again, maybe you have a local agricultural extension office that is teaching skills. Yep. I know we've got some here, and they have classes on great skills. They'll do canning classes and all sorts of really great stuff. And that can just really make you move through much more quickly. So don't be afraid to pay for that and put some money into it.
And that's not just online classes. Those can be very valuable because it's like getting that person into your home to lead you along. But of course, buying books, a lot of people, again, they want to go online, get the free content, and not buy the books because those cost money. But there's just value there that you can't get anywhere else. And it's the same with in person. If you have to, go do some farm tours. Go help out. There's places where you can, not apprentice long term. Most of us can't do that unless you're just really young and single. But there's lots of different ways and places that you can pay to go get hands-on skills. So don't be afraid to pay for your education. You may not want to spend the money now. You're going to spend it somewhere. And it's a lot more costly in the mistakes. We all make them, but the more help we can get, the less costly those mistakes are down the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a term here in the house that says, if you don't pay for your education one way, you're going to learn by paying the dummy tax, because you're going to make some mistake that you shouldn't have made if you had good mentorship or a good education that's going to cost you what it would have cost you to pay for that education in the first place. But this is another really good point.
I was just thinking of all the thousands we paid in dummy tax.
We have. We have earned our education probably the hard, expensive way.
Well, and some of that's the best education. I mean, you're not going to avoid that to a point. Because you just got to practice. You got to live it. And you're going to make mistakes, but it's the combination, and not just doing it all yourself without getting good knowledge first.
So I do want to add, though, that this point of don't being afraid to pay for a good education really plays into that idea that you're only learning 1 or 2 new skills at a time. If you're trying to just rush and do all sorts of new things all at once, it's hard to pay the cost associated with those things, right? It's hard to pay for the good equipment or infrastructure, and the reference material or the education costs that go with it. If you slow down to where you can actually thoroughly learn something and pay the costs associated with it, you're going to end up further along in the long run. You're going to have the better equipment that's going to last you longer. You're going to have the more thorough knowledge that's going to carry you a longer time.
And I think that's key. The paid resources is going to give you the knowledge that's going to help you make less mistakes. That's what's going to help lessen the dummy tax, help build skills faster, that combination of knowledge that you've bought that goes deeper one way or the other. Okay, kind of to wrap it all up, there's a lot of ways to do things, but everybody's circumstance is different. So you've got to take that knowledge that you gain and the skills that you're learning about and apply them to your situation. And everybody wants to give a recipe, how to do something, not just for cooking, for lots of things, just ABC, 1, 2, 3, just do it this way. It doesn't work that way.
You see that all the time in gardening things. Like, you just go do this, this, and this, and then you're going to have this. And
garden this way or that way, same with bread making.
That's been a big one I've taught a lot on is, people want just the recipe that's going to fix their bread, but it's not that simple. You have to have the skill of what you're doing. And so move beyond the recipe. Whatever it is, move beyond the recipe and see that the skill is there. And when you have a skill, that's when you can take a circumstance and make your own recipe for it, right? You can look at it and go, okay, this is the circumstance that this garden is in. I need to do this, this, and this in order to make it turn out right.
And that is a combination ultimately of knowledge and experience. To be able to do that. And so just as you're learning things and you're learning from people, just remember you can take that knowledge, that skill they're sharing, you've got to apply it. And it might work great one time, not another. It might not work at all. It doesn't mean they were wrong. They might have been completely right for their situation. You've just got to take the knowledge and apply it and figure out what works for you, because every home, every family, every person, every piece of ground is different. There's so many variables. So, well, I think that kind of covers it. So you want to do a summary real quick? Just kind of bullet point?
So we said, number 1, don't do it all at once. 1 or 2 skills.
1 or 2 skills a year.
Number 2, we added one in there. Do what you have where you are. Start where you are right now. So that was our added in number 2. Number 3, find successful mentors, either online, in person, or in books. And build your library. And number 4, don't be afraid to pay for a good education.
Yep.
And number 5?
Practice, do it.
Practice.
Get out
Just
there and do it, and build skills, make mistakes, have successes, and keep on going.
Yeah.
And that'll get you there. And
Now, I think it's worth noting in here that when you learn a new skill, there's kind of different phases that you go through. You know, you often have that beginner's luck phase where you try it and it turns out great and you're so
it's like
excited.
stellar. It seems to happen a lot.
It does
Yeah.
seem to happen. And so somehow you're like, wow, I'm just naturally good at this skill. At least that's my take. I feel really good about myself until I try it the next time. And number 2 usually works out pretty good too, the second try on it. But it's that third try. And I think what happens is you stop watching the directions so carefully. You know, you get a little looser, a little sloppier, but you don't really know what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work and you don't really know why. And you have to go through this whole process of kind of recreating what you did and understanding the basis behind all of that before you really get back to where you are good at that skill and it's reproducible and you can do it over and over again. So I think just having patience with yourself through those early stages and knowing, hey, it turned out great this time, it might not the next time, and I know I'm still going to have to learn, you know, a little bit of that school of hard knocks in here as I learn the skill.
it's a good point. Yeah, that's just part of the skill building process.
Right.
Yeah, and putting that knowledge to work.
Yeah.
So, well, real good, you guys. Let's see. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to start homesteading with no money.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a big topic, and a lot
Yeah.
of people are very interested in that one.
Yeah, but we get it. We're trying to build healthier lives,
Mm-hmm.
but we have limited resources. We talked about time last week. You know, money coming up here. Those are 2 of our biggest resources,
Big ones.
but that we're completely limited on in one way or another.
Right.
And but you know what? There is a lot that you can do right where you're at without necessarily spending a whole lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next week.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.